So over the past few weeks, the Washington Post, the New Yorker magazine, the New York Times Athletic, the New York Post, Fox News, News Nation have all done features on you about your political future in their estimation. It's not like you've said anything exactly like that. Why do you think that is? Why are you getting so much attention in this area?
Because I do something that the Democratic Party doesn't do at this particular moment in time. I resonate. It's really that simple. And I'm not saying that to brag on myself. I'm saying that to highlight the desolate state of affairs that exists within the Democratic Party. They haven't been very, very impressive, collectively speaking, of course. And I think that when you see the election and what the election results revealed, Donald Trump gets 77 million votes. He wins the popular vote. He wins the Electoral College vote. He wins every swing state. He's up in like 50 counties. He gave a run for money in New York. They improved in California. And obviously they won the Senate. They won the House, and they maintained, their stake in the House. In the Senate. They won the Senate, and they maintained their stake in the House as well. You take all of those things into account, and there's just no question that the Democratic Party is in dire straits right now. And so when you hear me pointing out some of the things that I pointed out, I'm not one of those guys, Bill, who believes that because you think differently than me, you're a racist. You're anti-black.
No, you don't play that. I've never heard you play that card.
I don't play that game.
Why do you think Carville gets so upset about this? Well, what is it that you're doing that annoys him?
Well, you know this better than me because you're the veteran in politics over the last 50, 60 plus years, 50 years plus. I'm not going to go the 60 route because you're not that old. But here's the deal. In the end, when you look at a guy like James Carville, who came across as a bit truculent to say the least, I think that, first of all, he misquoted me. I did not say there was no talent in the Democratic Party. I said there was no one who was resonating. They did not have a voice. I happen to know Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. He's a friend of mine. I mean, I like him a great deal. We've become friends. I enjoyed my interview with Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. I just finished interviewing a few minutes ago minority leader of the House, Mr. Hakeem Jeffries. So it's not like the Democratic Party is devoid of talent. That's not what I said. But they are devoid of a voice. They are devoid of somebody who resonates on a national level. And I think James Carville took exception to that primarily because he forgot that he was the one saying it too, which is why on my show, when I clapped back at him, I played some clips of him saying the same damn thing that I said. Because he had been lamenting that, and I think that when
you ought to get Carville on your podcast, which is very successful.
I'm going on his.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because there's a couple of things in play. Number one, there is no leader of the Democratic Party. Now would be my first question, Carville. Who's the leader? Chuck Schumer? Come on.
Exactly.
There's no leader. They don't have anybody.
Totally true.
Kamala resurfaced at the NAACP, didn't really make a dent. So that it's wide open. Number two, Trump opened the gates for populist candidates. And if you ever decided to get into politics, that's what you would be, a populist candidate. You would be going right to the people and say, look, I feel for you, and I'm going to, if you elect me, I'm going to try to solve some of your problems. That's what Trump did. And it's been very successful for Trump. But right now, the Democratic Party is disarray, and Carville knows that, but it just seems to be he was insulted
and not listening to him. That's where his real frustration comes from. And and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they shouldn't listen to him. I think they should have listened to him. But I think that, as is the case in our society today, on a plethora of platforms and in industries where you've got youngsters on the come up and they sort of ease the elder statesmen out of the mix because they want to run things themselves. I deal with that in sports too, where you have an abundance of individuals who were qualified and they couldn't get a job because the youngsters were placed at the helm and they didn't want to bring somebody in more knowledgeable than them. Take into account, you know your sports a little bit, Bill O'Reilly. Bill Belichick couldn't get an NFL job. The man has won 8 Super Bowl championships, 2 as a defensive coordinator, 6 as a head coach. And when he got let go by the New England Patriots, he couldn't get a job. He had to go back to college at the University of North Carolina to get a head coach
job. They didn't want to give a guy like that control.
I know that. But what I'm saying is transitioning back to politics, you have people in positions of power within the Democratic establishment that clearly didn't want to listen to James Carville. So that could be a part of his frustration. But in the end, he came at the wrong person because I wasn't knocking him. I thought they should have listened to him. But when he clapped back at me, I'm like, wait a minute, you've been talking the same stuff that I've been saying. You must have forgot about that. Let me remind you. And that's
if you
about
really
as far as I
want to cut through it all, and no Democrat has the courage to say this, Joe Biden destroyed the party. He destroyed it.
Yes, I said that.
But you're not, you're not in the political arena. There's nobody in Congress or working in the Democratic precincts, no governor, nobody. Wes Moore, your buddy, when you talk to him and you ask him, did Joe Biden destroy the Democratic Party? He'll say no, or he won't answer the question. Joe Biden destroyed it because he's the second worst president in our history. And it's not even close. I mean, you can never beat James Buchanan because he let the Civil War happen. But Biden, if you read my message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com, the guy, that's why Trump is bouncing up and down like, a 18-year-old on speed, because he's trying to reverse all of this stuff that's hurting every American. But the Democrats won't acknowledge that. And they also won't acknowledge that woke culture has destroyed the fabric of the party. That's what the main thing is all about, right?
You and I have been, you're absolutely right. You and I have been on TV together, and you know how I love to disagree with you, but when you're right, you're right. Damn it, I got to concede it. And you're right on the money with that, And so when you take into account, first of all, Joe Biden was supposed to leave. He was supposed to be a transitional president, and then was feeling himself when the midterms wasn't a red wave in 2022, so he decides to stay in office, basically betrays the party, and then they got to come up with some elaborate scheme to get him up out of there. That's what I firmly believe. And it turned out to backfire on them. And when you look at the actions of Trump right now, and people talk about him trying to undo so much that they have done, whether you like or dislike what Trump is doing, and there's plenty of people in the center and clearly on the left who do dislike what he is doing, it is no doubt he is trying to do exactly what he said he was going to do, which is also the antithesis of what Democrats,
Absolutely.
at least in recent memory, are known about. That.
He's going
so
further.
That's the bottom line. He is going further, going a bit too far.
Nobody expected him to prop up Putin. But as I wrote in my column, this is why he's propping up Putin.